Vice asks his manager, JD lives by you. Do you mind giving him a ride back? And he was like, yeah, no problem. I think he was giving me the eye like, Lil Jon doesn't know you're coming with us, so hurry the fuck up and get in the car.
Oh.
It was like one of those things.
Okay.
He's like, dude, just get in the back seat. You're not even there to us.
Yeah.
Episode 12, aka Season 2, Episode 2 of the It's Always Something podcast, produced by my guy Hurley and Big Night Media. What's up, sir?
Hey, what's good?
My name is JD. Let's start off by saying free Britney. Let's just start off by saying that.
Yes.
How are we going to let Bill Cosby out of jail before Britney? Well, I mean, Britney's not in jail, but she's in a mental jail right now. Mm-hmm. So free Britney, first of all. And a couple weeks ago, I DJ'd a Britney Spears bar crawl, and I will tell you that Stronger and Lucky, other than We Found Love, which we went over last episode as being the greatest song ever made, I will tell you that Stronger and, what song did I say, and Lucky are the most fire pop records ever.
Okay.
I'm telling you.
Not even like her real popular stuff. Those are
I'm not going to call them album cuts.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, the Britney bar crawl that I did was so ill and so much fun. Doesn't it sound like fun?
It does.
Right?
It does. Actually, a friend of mine the other day was saying that he really wanted to do a full-on Kesha.
That would work too.
Bar crawl.
Yeah, that would work.
And I mentioned that you did stuff like that.
Yeah. You mentioned I did stuff like that. What the fuck is that supposed to mean?
Well, no, you do like the fangirl Fridays.
Yeah. Like dance theme nights. Sheesh. So yeah, that Britney bar crawl was so lit a couple weeks ago. And also, I want to say that I'm very humbled to have a washer and dryer in my unit. Whenever, I have to be appreciative of that, because if you don't live on the East Coast or you don't live in a super big city, you don't appreciate having a washer and dryer in your unit until you have to use a community one. I know that's first world problems, but man, I was on the 5th floor of my last apartment, and I just remember having to go up, down,
Or even if you have to go to a laundromat too, then
right.
You just gotta kill 2 hours of your time. There.
Yeah, so I am very humbled and thankful that I have a washer and dryer in my place. If you're not already subscribed to the podcast, please do so. The subscriptions, especially on YouTube and stuff, are going up. So thank you guys so much for doing that. Please like, review, comment. All that stuff matters. I'm trying to take this bad boy to the moon. So if you have a few seconds, go ahead and do that. If you're already, have the auto downloads, I appreciate you being a fan and just taking the time out of your schedule to rock with me. So I've been doing this for a long time. I've lived a great life in this industry. I've had nights that are incredible, and I've had some nights that are not so incredible. I've had some memorable experiences and some not so memorable experiences. I've gotten a swirly as an intern. That's a whole nother story. I've DJ'd in places where none of my friends have shown up. You're starting out. Even when I was starting to get some good gigs, I was just doing spots that, my friends weren't accustomed to going to. And, they were random restaurants or places that were just far away, not in the core of where you would go out. I've been in, I've DJ'd places, where there have been shootouts and fights. Maybe that's why my friends never showed up to any of my gigs. They're like, hey, man, really
just
enjoy
try
living.
Not to die. Yeah.
Let us know if you come back, But, I've had to pay some dues. I've worked overnights. I used to work in college. At the time, my shift was Saturdays from 4 to 10 a.m., which was brutal. I don't wish that shift upon anyone in any industry ever. So I'd party at night, and then I would go, to board op, which, and if you don't know what a board op is, I would go into the radio station and I wouldn't talk on the air. I would just make sure that the radio station was up and running and functioning. Hurley, we both worked at the same radio station, so Hurley knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
So you're chilling, basically. You're literally just trying to stay awake. Mm-hmm. And I have PTSD when I think of 5-hour energy drinks. I can't view them the same anymore.
Yeah.
So my shift was 4 to 10 on Saturday a.m., and then on Sunday, 1 to 6 a.m.
So, man, so you didn't even have either of your weekend nights.
Right. It was brutal.
Oh,
it was tough, and so I've sacrificed a great deal of my personal and my social life in order to get to where I'm at right now, AKA this very moment, because I've also had some unforgettable experiences, in my lifetime. Whenever I need to come out with a book to get me popping, I'll publish all of those stories in a book, because I don't want to blow my load here on episode 12.
Yeah.
Because there's so much. I got to tease. Yeah. There's so much to talk about.
Maybe that's like a season 5 kind of.
Yeah, that's more of like a season 5, season 6, for sure. And because I have to tell you, last week, Lil Jon gave me a ride home from the club. I'll say it again, because it doesn't sound like real life to me. Lil Jon gave me a ride home from the club last week. Now, I have to tell you, before we get into all this, about how I feel about Lil Jon. Other than being an icon, Get Low is probably one of the biggest songs of all time, other than We Found Love. I just have to mention that every time. But, Turbulence, Snap Your Fingers, think of like all the little songs that Lil Jon is on or have been a part of. He's really stood the test of time as far as a musician is concerned. He probably has the most ideal career, right? Would you agree with that?
Yes. I mean, he has the most iconic voice, too.
Turned down for what? Exactly.
Like, as soon as you hear it, you're like, oh, yeah.
We're going to get to that in a second.
Okay.
He's a part of, in the DJ community, these things called party breaks that you would play in between songs, single ladies, put your hands up, just kind of things that flow you down the turn up river, right? As you're out at night. And so I counted 737 Lil Jon songs in my laptop. Now, some of those are instrumentals, some of those are acapellas. They're not all like Lil Jon songs, but in total, I have 737 different things with Lil Jon's handprints on them.
Out of how many? Do you know how many?
In my laptop, I have around 40,000 songs. Which
okay.
I had way more before, and then my laptop got stolen, so that's what I've recouped.
Wow, okay.
So those were just Lil Jon stuff. And I also have met Lil Jon before. As if you're watching on YouTube, I have the picture of me and Lil Jon, which, if you're just looking at it, and I'll post it up, it looks like we're in Home Depot, and I'm asking him, hey, man, are you looking for patio furniture too? Or do you know where the cabinet section is? So it looks like we're in a Home Depot, but I interviewed him 9 years ago at ASU, where I went to school. And this picture was taken at the ASU bookstore next to what's called the SRC field, where, intramurals wouldn't happen, intramural stuff would happen. It was just the giant field. You play football, softball, whatever it may be. So he played this random pop-up show. No one knew about it except for me, because, they hit up the record label and, hit up the radio station, and then we knew and set up the interview. So I knew he was going to be out there. But he legit set up under a tent. They set up under a tent, and Lil Jon just showed up. And, there's so many people walking around campus. I think they were anticipating Lil Jon is here. But it's not like that. We didn't have the technology that we do now, where if you saw a tweet or you saw an IG story or something like that, you're like, yo, we gotta fucking go to the SRC right now. So it's way different. But there was enough people there where it was fun.
Built up a crowd.
But it wasn't like, what it could have been for sure. Yeah. And so I interviewed him at the ASU bookstore right next door, like in this little room. And so you had mentioned that he can hype up anything. And so I found the interview that I did with him, because it wasn't through it was through the radio station, but my friend did the interview. And he was talking about how he can hype up anything, like you were mentioning. Yeah. And he was basically explaining I could hype up having some eggs in the morning. So listen to this.
But I can hype up eggs. I can be like, eat some eggs, bitch. Eat some eggs, bitch. Eat some eggs, bitch. Eat some yolks.
Eat some eggs.
And the worst part about that, and this is how times have changed, is that my friend Rico, who edited that video, played a Lil Jon song as if we didn't need to hear the audio to my interview. Like, he played 2 or 3 actual Lil Jon songs, like at a volume where you'd be like, yo, can you turn this shit down? I'm trying to hear what's popping in the interview. So I had like a really fun interview with him. And I was trying to get him to say, because you know how you hear a lot of the times DJs say, put your fucking hands up. I tried to get an acapella of Lil Jon saying, put your fucking hands down. And that was my whole thing that I tried to do during the whole interview. And so I'm going to post the clip of him basically saying, you know, you need to have a reason to do that, you know, like if it was a Right Guard commercial or something like that, you know, put your hands, and I actually got him to say it, but like it was an accident. It's not like I could use it for anything, but man. He was not a fan of it, right? Okay, so let's cut to Saturday night, last Saturday.
Okay.
My homie Vice is in town, friend of the program, first guest on the podcast. JD, get off his nuts. All right, he's my friend, so try again. So Vice was in town DJing this spot called The Grand out here, this awesome club that Big Night owns. And so it was my first night out at The Grand since the pandemic.
Cool.
So I haven't been out. I've DJ'd some spots, but I haven't gone out to like one of the club nights here at Big Night. And so Vice is DJing, and we're chilling outside. We had just had dinner, and Lil Jon was DJing this spot called Memoir, which is also owned by Big Night, which is at the Encore Casino that I live by, right? So we're chilling outside of the Grand. We had just had dinner, and the owner of Big Night here, Randy, he goes, hey, you know, do you mind waiting 10 or 15 minutes? Not to me, because remember, I'm on the side, okay? I'm in the gutter.
Yeah.
And he asked Vice, he's like, hey, Vice, you know, do you mind waiting 10 or 15 minutes? Lil Jon is going to come. And Vice goes, oh, Jon actually wants to come through? Like, you know, they've had these conversations all the time. He's like, Jon, yeah, we'll wait, you know, 10 or 15 minutes. And I'm like, okay, so I'm about to walk into a club with Vice and Lil Jon. Just that, I'm going to let that just marinate for a second, okay? And so Vice and Lil Jon go way back. Even in that interview I did at ASU, Lil Jon mentions Vice and DJ 5 and a bunch of these DJs that he really respected that play in Vegas.
Wow,
They've
cool.
been doing it for a very long time, and so has Lil Jon. And I remember during the interview, this was a time where, like, maybe Lil Jon was a DJ for a long time, but to us, if you were just an outsider, you'd be like, Lil Jon fucking DJing? What? It's kind of like it wasn't a gimmick because he had records. It was really smart, but you just weren't thinking Lil Jon as a DJ. So there's a little bit of context, and so they go back. And, you know, they still DJ in Vegas now. So we're waiting for him to pull up. We're going to walk in together. And let me be so clear. This is not normal life for me, okay? Like, me walking in with them doesn't make any sense to me. You know, now I've been in these situations a lot, more than a lot of people. I'm very aware of that. You know, I've been doing radio. I've DJ'd for artists. I've DJ'd clubs where big artists have come in. I've been in these circumstances before, so I know a little bit how to act, right? As far as just being not like fan, like super fanning out, and like really just making the artist uncomfortable, talking to them about dumb shit just to like for the story. There's a time and place. So, you know, it's a respect thing at the end of the day when these artists come in. It's just like, dude, act like you've been there. So I'm not, you know, that's where I stood with that situation. Like, I was just like, all right, like I've chill, you know, I've been in these situations before, but I'm not going to act like I'm a peasant, you know? So I'm not going to act like this shit is just ho-hum to me. Cause inside I'm like, we're about to walk in the club with Lil Jon. We're waiting for Lil Jon. We're waiting for him. So we walk in, and it's just us at the table next to the DJ booth. It is me. It is my girl Crystal, who's engaged to DJ Echo, who travels with Vice. She's gonna crush me for saying Kristen. And, you know, so Echo makes sure that the equipment and everything is good for Vice, maybe for social media stuff is getting stuff for his IG, just kind of like a road manager type vibe, making sure no ratchet ass people in the club are spilling drinks or getting near him or talking or whatever. So that's like his job. So it's me, Crystal, and Lil Jon, just us at the booth. And I'm talking, when I mean just us, I mean just us all night long.
Wow.
All night long. And I'm telling Lil Jon that Tell Me When to Go changed my life by E40 because he made the beat. He's made a ton of staple records and been a part of so many songs that were such a huge part of my life. And so, you know, I'm asking him if he remembered the interview. I'm asking him if he remembered me giving him the acapella, asking him to do an acapella of put your fucking hands down. He was not a fan of that. He clearly was like, you're a fucking idiot.
Did he remember or no?
He did remember.
Oh, wow.
Because, yeah, he remembered because he knew someone, obviously, who got him the gig at ASU.
Yeah.
And so he remembered it. I'm not sure if he necessarily remembered me, but he did remember playing because it was such a random thing.
Yeah.
So if I were him, I probably remember it. And, 18 to 20-year-old me, fuck it. Even 25 to 30-year-old me is like wilding out.
Yeah.
It's just us in the booth.
So Lil Jon just like showed up to Memoir by himself? Like
no, he showed up to the Grand by himself.
Oh,
so
okay.
He came
Still
to
at the Grand at this point.
He's playing the following day. Did I say that?
I see. Okay.
He was playing the following day, Sunday, at Memoir.
Okay.
So he wanted to come out and just show Vice some love.
Gotcha.
And so, when artists come in, you've seen it everywhere. It's just chaos. There's people drinking, there's people popping bottles, there's girls everywhere, there's shots being poured. It's just chaos when artists come in.
Yep.
And people are drinking tequila and partying, and I have my special earplugs in because I care about my future.
Yes.
Vice is DJing, and it was the most relaxing night I've ever had at a nightclub. Because after the club closed, we were in the most casual social circle of all time. It was like me, Vice, Crystal, Echo, and Lil Jon, and we were talking about how 1942 pairs really good with oranges. Like the citrus is meant to, he was saying that a lot of the tequilas, when you have the lime, it kills the taste buds that are supposed to make you enjoy tequila, as if tequila is supposed to be good ever in any situation. It is fucking Satan in a glass. But he wasn't wrong because, we're drinking just follow me, okay? I'm pretending like I'm cool. Yeah. We're drinking 1942 with an orange. I don't drink tequila on the ice. I am just so not being me. And, we have this conversation for like a half hour after the club closed. And so I'm like floating, we're talking about the science of shit. And, I'm buzzed. I'm not hammered.
Okay.
So I'm definitely buzzed in a good way. And so here's why I'm floating, because do you realize the kind of asshole that I need to be, or I would need to be, in order to think like a night like this was normal?
Yeah.
I'm not going to come here and act like that was a Saturday for me, working for Big Night Media. This is just kind of, is what we do. Yeah. We wait for Lil Jon.
Yeah, just, you don't even call him Lil Jon, just Jon.
I call him Jon now. Yeah, we are friends. We have the
Jonathan.
same name. It's like, I just say, hey, I'm Silent H. You can call me Silent H because I'm Jon with John. Another thing I'll regret saying later. So yeah, I'm not going to pretend like partying in a booth with Lil Jon is my fucking life. Here's my life. I wasted an entire Costco-sized bag of spinach 2 weeks ago. And I mean, I absolutely had maybe a handful or a couple breakfasts. Those big-ass bags from Costco, wasted it all. Mm-hmm. I had to throw it away. That's my life. That's what, on a day-to-day basis, those are the problems I'm dealing with. And so I'm not going to act like this situation, like I'm like I said before, I'm a little bit more used to it, but it doesn't mean I'm not aware of someone who I see on TV all the time, who I play in the clubs all the time, play their music all the time. Nothing prepares you to just kick it with someone of his stature unless you live that life, So I recognize that it's tight.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward then to outside where the good stuff is happening. We're outside after. Ubers and Lyfts are awful everywhere.
Yes.
It's expensive. You're waiting forever. And so I live maybe 10 minutes from the Grand, and I live by Encore, where Lil Jon is playing the following day. You guys see where I'm going here?
Yes, I do.
So, it would be expensive. It would take forever to find one. I'm anticipating I'm paying $45 to $50 to get home somewhere that's 10 minutes away.
Yeah.
And Lil Jon has his black car, the Escalade or whatever it may be, to take him back to Encore. And I live pretty close by. Everyone following where we're going here? And so I'm already thinking what you're thinking in the car or wherever you're listening to the podcast. And Vice goes, you know, you good? You know, we're dapping up. We're saying later. I was like, yeah, I got to wait for this Uber. And he goes, well, Lil Jon is staying next to where you live, right? Like, why don't you just ask him? So if we're recapping, DJ Vice wants me to ask Lil Jon for a ride home because he's close to where I'm at. Like, Vice, who the fuck do you think I am to ask Lil Jon? John.
Yeah.
Hey, can I get a ride back? I know. You're like, in what world, Vice, do you think I live in to be able to ask him that? But here's what I was thinking, Hurley, is that you know how celebrities wanted to be they want to be treated like normal people. And so this is what normal people would do. If you know someone, you've been hanging out with them all night, be like, hey, you know, you're on the way. Would you mind taking me back?
Yeah. Imagine like a few years ago being like, hey, Tom Brady, I also live in Brookline. Do you mind just dropping me off? We'll save on gas.
So, you know, and, you know, it's not a bad idea. You know, it's not a bad idea to ask him for, you know, a ride back. And there wasn't like people, you know, anyone from an entourage or girls or anything were coming back with us. I mean, I don't get chicks anyway, but you get my drift. And so I would have felt more comfortable asking him for $50, you know, like, and just be like, hey, Ubers cost a lot. Do you have like cash on you or, you know, a crunk cup that I can exchange for a ride back? In a perfect world, I feel like this is how the conversation would go. I would ask Lil Jon, hey, you mind giving me a ride back? He would say, what? Because he couldn't hear me. Because he didn't hear what I'm saying, so I would have to ask him again. Did you guys hear that? The horn outside? Exactly. And
that's Lil Jon, actually.
That's Lil Jon. You're up here right now.
He's actually going to pick you up from here, yeah.
So he would, you know, he would say that, and then I would ask him the question again. You know, can you give me a ride back? You know, I live by Encore, and he'd go, okay. And you know, so then I get in the back seat, and then as we drive back, I feel like my breath is humming. I don't want to have bad breath around Lil Jon. Who knows? You know, if I feel like hitting the tables after at Encore, I'm feeling good. You know, if I meet a lovely lady, I'm gonna need some gum. So then I would ask Lil Jon for some gum, and I'd be like, hey, do you have any? And he'd be like, yeah.
Your Lil Jon impressions are actually incredible.
They're not bad.
I love them. And I'm not kidding.
Thank you.
They're very good.
I hopefully he doesn't have those like trademarked or anything. That I'm fucked and I'll have to delete this entire episode. But so we're still in the back seat here. This is how I'm envisioning a conversation would go. And then, you know, we would be talking back and forth, you know, how his travels have been. And I would say, you know, how was the plane ride over? And he'd go, we hit turbulence. And then the conversation would be over and we'd get out the car and I'd go on.
Yeah,
my
hopefully
way.
that'd be a 10-minute. You got to really space out those questions.
You gotta let it ride in silence. Maybe he's on the phone. He's checking Instagram. He's checking the DMs.
So let's hear it. How was it?
Okay, so to the meet, Vice asks his manager, you know, JD lives by you. Do you mind giving him a ride back? And he was like, yeah, no problem. You know, I think he was giving me the eye like, Lil Jon doesn't know you're coming with us, so hurry the fuck up and get in the car.
Oh.
You know, it was like one of those things.
Okay.
He's like, dude, just get in the back seat. You're not even there to us.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got back in the back of the car, and they were the coolest people on the planet, and it was fun to be a part of that car ride home. I'll just, you know, what's in the locker room stays in the locker room.
Yep. Understood.
And then we got to Encore, and I went on my way.
Wow.
And then the driver, you know, took me home.
Wow.
So Lil Jon, you know, so kind. So now if anyone ever asks, did Lil Jon give you a ride home? I could be like, yeah.
You know, when that question just casually pops up. Hey, JD, has Lil Jon ever given you a ride home?
Yeah, he has. So that is what happened over the weekend. And I wish I had, you know, some people that were in times like this. I always think about, I wish, you know, my, you know, best friends or someone was just able to witness it with me and like be a part of it. And I had a friend who was actually supposed to come and ended up having to bail last minute. And that's the second part of why I wanted to bring, if you're looking on the charcuterie board here, I have a box of Frosted Flakes because my homie flaked last minute. And it just got me thinking as we get into the summer here about how important it is to, and I'm not going to do a 180 here, but how important it is to not flake at the last minute on things. I feel like I'm doing a before I go, like the segments that I did here before I started the podcast, because the title of this would be, "Don't be a flaky McFlakerson." Like, I feel like that's what the title would be, because I'm tired of people thinking that it's, and it didn't bother me with the Lil Jon stuff, but I've had it happen to me recently. I've had it happen to me just in general before the pandemic, of people thinking that it's okay to flake on the day of. Like, it's really gotta stop. And this goes for everyone, and it usually applies for dates, but you can really apply it for everything. And I just want to make people aware of it, because I like to say that I'm guilty of it, but I legit don't remember the last time I committed to something and then texted the day of, maybe even a few hours before, "Yo, sorry, not able to make it." It's become a norm.
Yeah. Well, I feel like it's different. Like, if something actually comes up, then sure. But I feel like in those situations, it's always like the person never planned on coming. They were just pushing off, letting you know they can't come until obviously an hour before. They're like, "All right, fine, I'll text them saying I can't come," which is what I already had in my head the entire time. It's like, come on.
Like, what part of your brain allows that to be okay?
I know.
So
I'm right with you.
And I'm pick an excuse of something, something came up, I'm not feeling well, which is the worst cop out, because when someone says, I haven't been feeling well, it's not like you could text what you're really thinking, which is bullshit.
Yeah.
You don't just all of a sudden on this day feel not well. And or I forgot I was supposed to do blah blah blah, or I'm tired, blah blah blah. It's just so wildly disrespectful to flake on the day of, or even if it was a few hours before. And to be clear, I'm talking about plans you've made, time and place set in stone. Because, everyone has those, oh yeah, we should do that sometime. But I'm talking, you make legit plans. I'm legit plans with whoever it may be. Sometimes it's a week in advance. Sometimes it's a ticketed event. Sometimes it's a trip. Sometimes it's a date. Sometimes it's a friend's birthday party, a gender reveal, a club, a brunch, golfing. You want to throw an event in there, Hurley?
Bar mitzvah.
Bar mitzvah, throw it in there. Or an event or something that requires a credit card to be on file.
Oh, okay.
Something where you can't, you're less in the 24-hour window in order to cancel the reservation.
Yes.
Yep. So someone has to eat it. Remember, I was giving BMO shit on a previous episode of how he bailed out on the Red Sox game, and how his ticket was $50-something, and we couldn't find anyone to go with us. Of course, a friend would have gone with us if they didn't have to pay, but it's we're trying to find someone who will also pay $56 to come with us to the game. It's well, that's fucking rude. I'd be like, no.
Yeah.
If you're asking me for free, then sure. So, and just don't, because what you're really doing is you're ruining the energy, the excitement, the anticipation for the other person or people that you've committed to the plans to. And more importantly, you've ruined time. Something that we all value, right? Everyone's talking about how we value our time. So you're taking away that energy, or that energy that you were so excited for and built in anticipation for however long it may be. And when someone just bails out, everyone in their car or wherever you're listening, you know what that feeling is like. It's like a sinking feeling. You're just like, fuck, dude.
They also miss out on the opportunity to get driven home by Lil Jon. So I guess that is the cherry on top of the ice cream right there. It's look what you missed out on.
Look what you missed out on. We were legit in the fucking booth by ourselves. We could have done whatever we want. Nothing. It was a buffet of tequila if we wanted. It's shit you dream of, man. I'm telling you, this is not normal stuff.
That's why you don't flake out.
Yeah, right. And so, basically because flaking is not part of the self-care handbook. Does that make sense? If you're going to flake, give a genuine, honest reason how you were saying, I had a really bad day.
Yeah.
I had a really bad day at work. Something came up I'll explain later, or, I need some time for myself. I just, I was really thinking that I could do it. Tonight's not the night. But then, I feel miserable, but here's a Venmo for a beer, or, I made plans for us to go next Wednesday. Are you free? Does that work?
Yeah.
The next Red Sox game is on me. I'm talking about following up with specifics, because if you're going to flake, at least give some specifics. So you're not making the other person who you bailed on feel like a complete piece of shit.
Yeah.
Because it's not, and to be honest, I got no problem being vulnerable here. Majority of the time when I've asked a girl out, and I know this has happened to women too, which is really surprising to me. I don't know why it's surprising to me that a lot of guys do it too, but I've, invited girls to Bruins games, right? And, I tell them a couple days before, and then 3 hours before, they're like, oh, by the way, I'm so sorry. Please don't hate me. I can't make it. I'm like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with 2 hours left? Yeah. And it gets me hot, dude. It gets me heated. Because you're excited, and it could be just and the same goes if I were to have brought a friend. Yeah. Because now you're in this chaotic vortex of having to fill that opportunity in. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so it's just annoying as fuck. Especially I feel bad for people that are dating on both sides, that someone just bails out last minute.
Well, it's also from what I'm hearing, it sounds like you are the planner in the group.
I'm not.
Oh, you're not.
But I'm just saying there are some tight things that come up that, I do thrive on being spontaneous. So sometimes it's
No, but I just mean in your friends group, you are the one that plans
normally
everything,
I'm the one with tight shit coming up, hey, Lil Jon is going to be in the, well, we didn't know, but hey, we're going to be going to dinner with Vice. We're going to be doing all these things behind the scenes. We're going to have a good night at the club. Right.
So it's the worst situation for you, because it's they're just the ones just sitting back, just being do I feel like doing that? It's nothing would happen if it wasn't for you actually trying to make things happen, and then they just get to sit back in all their freedom, just be I don't feel like it. And I mean, the same thing happens with my friends too. It's I don't think we would, if I don't make plans at some point, I don't think we would have seen each other in 5 years, just because they would just sit back and just wait for me to do something. And then at that point, they get to choose whether or not they want to do it.
I got you. Yeah, I'm following. It's just
it's a worse situation for you as well, because it's you're making all these sick plans. Everybody just gets to choose what they want to do.
The day of?
Yeah, I know.
A few hours before, you're you do realize I made a reservation.
Exactly.
Or I have these tickets, and it's not just me. I feel like I'm speaking on behalf of multiple people. Choose a scenario, however it is that, it fits into your schedule. And, I was contemplating early on doing some research of, why millennials flake, or why Gen Z is flaked more than others. But I actually have figured it out myself. I figured out that people suffer from what I'm calling trash baginitis. They don't know how to not be a trash bag in order to just, like I said, come up with some specifics. Just be human. It's okay. Yeah. But don't have plans for a week, and it's not even, I'm telling you right now, it's not tight to be that person. It's not cool, and I'm not. I'm being serious, but with a grain of salt, and some humor. It's not fucking tight to be the person that's known for flaking for shit. That's how you miss out on opportunities in your life, whether it's a meeting or whether it's maybe someone is trying to surprise you with something and they put a lot of effort in, and then you wanted to bail last minute, and all that energy that they put time in to do something for you.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, once you become that person, you're just not going to get invited to things anymore.
Yeah, and it's not worth. And you're not even a bad person. You're just you're just known for that. And I just think you miss out on so many things in life. What could have been, whether it's a conversation, or this is how I sometimes I live my life. Sometimes I enjoy, even if it's against meet you if I'm tired or whatever. I'll go because I never know what kind of conversation I'm going to have or what I'm going to hear that's going to change my life or help me with some direction, or if someone has a perspective on something, or if I just need a night out. When you're a flake, it is not what you need to be known for. It's wildly, like I said, rude and disrespectful.
Yeah. I just don't think people know how to say no in the moment.
Just
because
say no. It's that
Yeah.
you're being fake as fuck at
I
that
know.
point. Like, I get it. There's a small talk way to be like, we'll figure something out. I'm talking concrete plans.
Yeah.
Bailing on concrete plans the day of, hours before, the same day. You throw off fucking everything. So just stop suffering from trash baginitis. There's no cure that I'm aware of yet for trash baginitis.
Other than just not bailing, I
Yeah,
guess,
stop
right?
being Flaky McFlakerson unless you're going to change your fucking name to it. I'm turning up like Lil Jon for no reason.
Yeah, this is
For no reason.
getting hot in here.
I'm gonna create some merch that just says the word flake. I'm dead ass serious. I'm gonna sell it in the store on bignightshop.com, and I'm gonna make a shirt. I'll make a hat. I'll get some stickers. I don't know. I'll create something, and it's just gonna say fucking flake. Well, not fucking flake. It's just gonna say flake, and you're gonna buy it for your friends. Commit, people.
Happy birthday.
Yeah. You
Actually,
are
they
what,
wouldn't be there.
you are what you wear.
I don't know how you'd give it to them. They probably would never show up.
Yeah. Make sure you're home at around this time, and they flake on going home. Oh, that's good. Yeah, just commit. That's all I'm saying. I just wanted to go off on a small tangent on that. You know, like commit to subscribing to the podcast. You see how they tied a bow on that? Like, rate, subscribe. This has been episode 12 of the It's Always Something podcast. Just keep in mind, you never know if I text you if that night is going to just have Lil Jon be a part of it, or you never know what's brewing. So just say yes to all my shit. And then second, don't be a piece of shit and Flaky McFlakerson. Episode 12 of the It's Always Something podcast. Take it easy. Keep it true.